These sensors. So we worked with Western Tractor, Crop Intelligence to get this probe out in these fall crops and see what we can learn. My favorite thing, honestly, was the soil temperature through the fall, seeing what the temperature of the soil was compared to the air, actually, and how the snow insulated it all the way through into mid-December. So for me, that was actually the coolest part so far. So can you take it away?
Yeah, you betcha. I'll start here first with a little bit of an overview of our weather station here and the probe. So what you can see kind of poking up at the top here is our anemometer that's measuring wind speed. It takes an average wind speed every 15 seconds and sends it back to our front, which is attached there. And then, yeah, so it's good for spray timing, that sort of thing. And then at the top here, you can see with those spikes, that is our rain bucket. So that is taking in any rain and any irrigation that comes over as well. And then just below that, we have, it's all solar powered. So there's a solar panel right there. It's attached, you won't be able to see. There's a leaf sensor that's attached as well. This is sensing moisture, so this is also good for any fungicide if you're kind of questioning whether or not you want to spray. And then we also have the soil moisture probe in there, and that is 100 centimeters long. So we've got several sensors on there. There's one at 10 centimeters, 20, 30, 50, 70, and 100. Yeah, so this was kind of a neat project. We put this in September when this crop was seeded. Typically, we don't let them winter just because sometimes the soil moves. We did find that with this spring. It did in fact do that. But throughout September, it was kind of neat. We got to see the moisture that rye was initially using when it first was seeded. So rye needs roughly 3 inches of soil moisture to establish. When we seeded, crop was seeded, there was roughly, I think, 7 inches in the soil profile that we could see. So yeah, there's a good establishment on that. We noticed that the crop kind of quit taking in any soil moisture kind of in that beginning of November when temps really started to cool down. As Greg had mentioned earlier, going into December, we did see some warmer weather come in, and a lot of that moisture that was held on top, it went down through the profile. Going into January and February, that's when temperatures really started to dip into that minus 25. And we noticed throughout the soil profile there, the freezing kind of came down into that 50 centimeter mark. And it, on our soil moisture graph, we have kind of a green zone is what we like to call it. The bottom is wilting point, the top is saturation, and that 50 centimeter dipped below the wilting point, indicating that there was frost there tying up that moisture. Going into the spring, in April, that's when things kind of started to warm up again, and the soil warmed, and then we noticed kind of at the beginning of April is when we saw that rooting activity go down, and things started to wake up. This crop started to wake up. Like Greg said, it was a little bit drier, but we still saw some of that rooting activity pulling in what moisture was available. And then yeah, throughout the season, you watch this, I think, for the most part. And
it's on our website too, so yeah. We actually were able to link the code. So if you want to see what the temperature of the rain is at Inchant, go to our homepage. You can actually see the sensor on our website. So, and there's a rain bucket in the corner I forgot to mention. So, because this is catching irrigation and rain, and the corner catches just rain. So that's how it knows what was irrigated versus rain fed. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the one in the corner is kind of on the other side of the fence in the corner, and it's connected, so you can see rainfall versus irrigation, or both. Yeah, and then moisture in the soil because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of taking into account everything on how we, measure that water-driven yield potential is we take the initial soil moisture, the current soil moisture, expected rain. So there's an average of 10-year and 30-year rain. that we've been able to log, and the algorithm kind of takes that into effect and it says, okay, well, you're going to have rain here. You should have this much rain throughout the season based on these averages, and then as you hit those marks, we can watch our yield potential kind of go up and down. So far for this crop, I think the yield is looking pretty good. And yeah, throughout the growing season, Greg was able to kind of look on the app and just see, okay, how many inches of moisture do I need? I think this year, this crop has received, on average, roughly 13 inches of moisture, split pretty evenly between rain and irrigation.
Sounds about right. I didn't go look. Good thing you did.
Yeah.
Do you guys use that Alberta irrigation model for planning your irrigation? AIM card?
Oh, for what the sensor modeling is?
Excellent question. I don't know the answer to that.
It's a free software available online by the government of Alberta, and growers can use that model. They just fit their numbers in that model, like what is their crop, what are the yield they're expecting, and then they can plan that.
Yeah, for sure. I think right now we're using just kind of our internal information and internal data. But yeah, great question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the agri information what's it called again?
Alberta irrigation model.
Alberta irrigation model. I know some farmers have used that or use that to compare to what they're doing in the past. So yeah.
They are very compatible with these weather stations.
Okay. Okay.
In your program, how accurate have you found the yield estimates to be?
Great question.
You got a mosquito.
Good question. I think, yeah, on average, it's pretty close to the yield. I don't have any specific data saying whether or not, bushels less or above the average or the goal that you set. Yeah. Sorry, I wish I could answer that better.
When you're inputting your initial information, are you having to, is it asking you what your nutrient package was and all of that to try to estimate?
Yeah, it's asking you your nutrient package, your soil texture as well. That's a big one that plays into it. Your crop type, stage to maturity, seeding date, seeding rate. All of those things are compiled into our system, and the system looks at that and adjusts the amount of inches under irrigation and rain that you need to meet that yield goal.
I think for a dryland farm, this could be useful in deciding that fungicide or not, how much gas is in the tank to finish that crop, how much more money do you spend. And then from a fall crop perspective here, it's like, okay, when's it using water? Do we have enough going into fall in the early spring before we get water to the field in May? And then, yeah, when does it stop using? When should we be cutting off? And then I know from some friends that, just did they get rain at a distant field that they didn't expect? And how different is that from kind of where their home base is? And then can they keep that water ordered for one more circle because that crop is still pulling, even though it's kind of getting wet, is it still pulling? Can they do one more pass before shutdown near the end of the season? So that's really some of the benefits I see as a farm.
So do you get variety specific?
Ooh, variety specific.
Because and the reason I'm going to give you some background in this question. It was about 7 to 8 years ago in Saskatchewan. They were looking at water use efficiency based on varieties of wheat, varieties of canola, varieties of barleys and stuff. Now I don't. Do you know if Crop Intelligence has that data? Because I know there was a split between some people that worked in that, and it's a heavy question. Sorry.
As of right now, the answer is no. We don't have that information. It's just based on crop type.
Okay.
Eventually, I'm sure as we grow and we learn more, that will be something that is implemented in the future, hopefully.
And the question was variety specific water use information within a class, but I would say definitely a hybrid rye is going to make use of more water because of higher yield potential. But yeah. But yeah, one wheat variety to the next wheat variety. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
system that can test for any nutrients in the soil, or is it just temperature, moisture?
Just temperature and moisture right now.
I was told they've got dreams.
I've heard those dreams. I was wondering if there was an update.
Any other soil or crop intelligence information?
Just curious, how did you install that one? You just drill a hole and stick it in, or did you wet it? Or what
Yes,
did you do?
we have, well, we used our power drilled auger, and we kind of took 2 people here. Nick came and helped us. We had to reinstall it here in May. So yeah, we've got a meter long auger, and it goes straight down into the soil. And then what happens is we take the soil that comes up out of that hole, and we mix a slurry with it, so just the water and soil, and we end up pouring it down the hole, and then we take the probe and we place it in there, and then it kind of acts as that it almost acts as a cement in some case. As that slurry dries is when we start to see those water levels in the moisture, in the soil, kind of come down into the profile. It's hard to show you or to explain this without showing you guys a graph, but it comes down in the graph in that green zone, and yeah, that's kind of our installation process.
Maybe Twan, do you want to put your hand up? Anyone else from Western Tractor here? Who else is the Western? Yeah, so that's if you're thinking about getting one for your farm, go see that group right there. They're the ones that are a dealer in this area. So Western Tractor. So. Any other questions on the crop intelligence probes?
What does all of those costs roughly to put it in?
Ooh, cost wise.
Excellent question. This one has a bunch of add-ons.
We added on. We wanted the deluxe because we wanted to show it, right?
Yes.
So
But-
it's loaded.
MSRP to get kind of your base weather station is roughly $3,500.
45?
Yeah, and then we have subscription fees and data fees as well.
Is that a one-time fee or what?
The hardware is, yes. The subscription and data fees will be yearly.
Because yeah, it's using a cell connection to get the data to the internet.
So what's the annual subscription fee for?
It will range based on the amount of insights that you want to see. We've got about 5 different options. So it can range from about $355 to roughly $1,200 a year.
So the information gets sent to the operations center, or how does it work?
Yes, you can. Well, you can connect them. All that is connected right now through John Deere Apps is just the locations of them. But on our Crop Intel app is where you get to see all of the insights.
Yeah, Brian? Who owns the data? I don't know.
Full disclosure, I started 2 months ago. I'm not sure who owns the data. Excellent question, though.
Keep it like that.
Are we making money on the futures? Well, globally, Canada's probably matters more what happens in the American wheat areas than here, but or who starts a war where. But so no, I don't know. I don't know anything more than anyone else in the crowd about making money.
Okay, here's what I'm looking at for yield when you're in the middle of July. Maybe you can tell a little bit more and try to get ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good tool to kind of look and see where your potential yield is sitting and where you're going to be able to feel comfortable marketing your grain and making those contracts. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think if you can see if there is moisture in the soil, what is actually there to finish off that crop, or are you going to be light, or are you going to have no kernels in the top and bottom of your head like in some drought years? Or, yeah, are you going to be able to finish that off is what you got. Any other crop intelligence questions before we walk down to the end? Ooh, do we water based on this information? You're putting me on the spot. this year's a learning year for us, so we're kind of comparing it to what we've traditionally done, which is it the Dutch auger, the turning them in. So Joe Huvenars is our kind of our crop manager, and he goes out there and checks waters and advises what needs water when. And so he puts a lot of spots of checking and figuring out when to turn pivots on and off. So currently we're still using the old school method, which can work, but you have to have the right person and the time for that. So I think what our goal is, okay, can you use this to make that person better or reduce the work for that person? That's the thought in my mind.
Change their job profile.
Yeah. Make that person better or their job easier around scheduling and management of water on a farm. Correlation? I don't know if we've really looked at that specifically on when he checks something and how it correlates to here. I would think it would, but we haven't really followed up with that with Joe. So yeah. I know he's checking it. Yeah.
Is that one of these things, or you would like more of them?
Oh, if you've got a pretty spread out farm or multiple, I think easily you could put it kind of per crop type. Like maybe you need a winter crop one and a spring cereal and a canola one, like maybe by crop type or by farming zone if you're quite a spread out farm. That may make some sense. Any thoughts around that? Or?
No, I think you nailed that one. Yeah. If you have a spread out farm, absolutely. And if you want to have, multiple stations throughout to capture that weather, absolutely.
I mean, we'll get rain in one spot, but not here, or vice versa, right? So, or the crop's using more here versus over there.
What's your calibration process like?
Ooh, calibration process.
Calibration for like just the rain of the moisture or the moisture growth. I haven't heard much on the calibration process. They do have a process. Explain it. Yeah.
Calibration wise, I'm sure Tuan can fill you in a little more if he wants a little more details on that. All right, let's head down this way, and we'll end up between these plots and the other.